The war did not just take lives. It took normalcy. It took childhood. It took the small moments that make life worth living. Birthday parties, family dinners, bedtime stories, games in the backyard, all of it disappeared, replaced by fear, by rationing, by sirens, by waiting. But some families refused to let the war take everything. They fought back in the only way they could, with small acts of defiance, with little moments of humanity that reminded them they were still alive, until the war took those two. 13-year-old Sarah Mitchell from Portland, Oregon, turned 14 on March 3, 1943. Her father was fighting in Europe. Her older brother was in the Pacific. Her mother worked 12-hour shifts at a munitions factory. There was no money for a birthday party, no sugar for a cake, no time to celebrate. But her mother tried anyway. The night before Sarah's birthday, her mother came home at midnight. Sarah was already asleep. Her mother went into the kitchen and started baking. She had been saving sugar rations for 3 months. A teaspoon here, a tablespoon there, hoarding it like gold. She also had flour, eggs from a neighbor's chicken, no butter, just lard, and vanilla extract she had been saving since before the war. She mixed the ingredients in a bowl. No recipe, just memory. She poured the batter into a pan and put it in the oven. Then she sat at the kitchen table and waited. She had not slept in 20 hours. Her hands were stained black from gunpowder residue. Her feet were swollen. Her back ached. But she sat there waiting for the cake to bake. At 1 a.m, she pulled the cake out. It was lopsided, burned on one side. But it was a cake. She did not have frosting, so she melted a chocolate bar she had been saving and poured it over the top. It pooled in the middle and dripped down the sides. She stuck a candle in the center. One candle. That was all she had. The next morning, Sarah woke up to her mother standing in her doorway holding the cake. The candle was lit. Her mother was crying. Not sad crying, exhausted crying. The kind that happens when you are so tired, your emotions leak out whether you want them to or not. She set the cake down on Sarah's bed and sang Happy Birthday. Her voice cracked halfway through. Sarah stared at the cake, at the burned edges, at the uneven chocolate, at the single candle flickering in the dim light, and she started crying too. She did not cry because the cake was ugly. She cried because her mother had stayed up all night to make it, because her father was not there, because her brother was not there, because this was what birthdays look like now. Lopsided cakes and single candles and mothers who cried while they sang. But it was still a birthday. It was still something. Sarah blew out the candle, made a wish. Her mother cut the cake. They ate it for breakfast, just the two of them. It tasted terrible, dry and bitter and burned, but Sarah ate every bite. 3 weeks later, a telegram arrived. Her brother had been killed in the Pacific, shot down over the ocean. No body recovered, no grave, just gone. Sarah's mother collapsed when she read it, the same way she had stood with the cake. But this time there was no crying, just silence. Sarah found the telegram on the floor. She picked it up, read it. Then she walked to her room and looked at the burned cake pan still sitting on her dresser. She had kept it, unwashed, because it was the last thing her mother had made before everything fell apart. She picked up the pan and threw it against the wall. It dented, did not break, just dented. Sarah left it on the floor, did not pick it up, and she never celebrated her birthday again. The small acts did not protect anyone. They just made the loss hurt more. In December 1942, the family in Newark, New Jersey, received a telegram. Their son, Private Michael Donovan had been killed in action in North Africa. He was 19 years old. The telegram arrived 3 days before Christmas. Michael's younger brother, 10-year-old Kevin, watched his mother collapse when she read it. She dropped to the floor, did not scream, did not cry, just folded in on herself like something inside her had broken. Kevin's father stood there, staring at the telegram. His hands were shaking. He crumpled the paper and threw it across the room. Then he walked out. Kevin did not see him for 2 days. Kevin did not know what to do. His mother would not get off the floor. His father was gone. His older sister locked herself in her room. So Kevin did the only thing he could think of. He took care of the house. He was 10 years old and he became the adult. He cooked meals, burned most of them, made eggs, toast, soup from a can. He brought food to his mother. She would not eat. He left it next to her anyway. He brought food to his sister. She threw it at the door. He cleaned it up and brought more the next day. He did the dishes, swept the floors, took out the trash. He did not go to school. He stayed home and kept the house running because no one else could. On the 3rd day, his father came back. He smelled like alcohol. His eyes were red. He walked into the kitchen and saw Kevin washing dishes, saw the food Kevin had made, saw the house still standing, even though everything inside it was broken. He sat down at the table and started crying. Kevin had never seen his father cry. Not once. He did not know what to do. So he walked over and put his hand on his father's shoulder. Did not say anything, just stood there. His father grabbed his hand and held it, squeezed so hard it hurt, but Kevin did not pull away. That night, Kevin's mother finally got off the floor. She went to the bathroom, washed her face, came into the kitchen and saw the food Kevin had made, the dishes he had washed. She looked at him and said thank you. Then she sat down and ate. It was the first thing she had eaten in 3 days. Kevin sat across from her and watched, making sure she kept going, making sure she did not stop. Kevin kept his family alive for 3 days, but years later, he found out the truth. Michael did not die in North Africa like the telegram said. He died 3 weeks earlier, shot in the back while retreating. The army lied, made it sound heroic, made it sound like he died fighting. But Michael died running, scared, alone. Kevin found out when a soldier from Michael's unit tracked him down 30 years later and told him. The soldier said he was there, said he watched Michael get shot, said he tried to help, but there was nothing he could do. Kevin listened, nodded, thanked the man for coming. Then he went home and locked himself in his room and did not come out for 2 days. His wife knocked on the door, asked if he was okay. Kevin said yes, but he was not okay. He had spent 30 years believing his brother was a hero, and now he knew the truth, that the war did not make heroes, it just made bodies, and the ones who survived carried the lie for the rest of their lives. Kevin never told his mother. She died believing her son was a hero. Kevin let her believe it, because sometimes the lie is kinder than the truth. But some acts of humanity came from strangers, from people who had no reason to care, but did anyway, until they learned that caring was not enough. In August 1943, a train carrying wounded soldiers stopped in a small town in Nebraska. The train was heading east, back to hospitals, back to families, back to whatever was left of their lives. The soldiers had been fighting in Italy. Some were missing limbs, some were burned, some were so damaged you could not tell what happened to them. The train stopped for 20 minutes, just long enough to refuel. The townspeople heard it was coming, heard it was carrying wounded boys. So they showed up, hundreds of them. They lined the platform. They brought food, homemade bread, cookies, sandwiches, lemonade. They walked up to the train and handed food through the windows. The soldiers did not know what to do. Some of them cried. Some tried to pay. The townspeople refused. They just kept handing food through the windows, smiling, saying thank you, saying welcome home. One of the soldiers was 19-year-old Danny Pierce from Ohio. He had been shot in the stomach, nearly died, spent 2 months in a field hospital. He had not eaten real food in weeks. When an old woman handed him a sandwich through the window, he stared at it like it was a miracle. She smiled and said, "Eat up, honey. You are home now." Danny bit into the sandwich and started crying. He could not stop. He sat there with a sandwich in one hand and tears running down his face. Because for the first time in months, someone had been kind to him. Someone had reminded him that people still cared, that he was still human. The train pulled away. Danny waved at the old woman through the window. She waved back. He finished the sandwich, closed his eyes, fell asleep. 3 hours later, his wounds reopened. Internal bleeding. The medics on the train tried to stop it. They could not. Danny bled out in his seat. He was 19 years old. He died 3 hours from home. The sandwich was the last good thing he ever tasted. The old woman kept making sandwiches every time a train came through. For years, she never knew that one of the boys she fed did not make it. Never knew that her kindness was the last thing he felt before he died. Her daughter found out decades later when a historian researching the train routes tracked her down and told her the story. The daughter cried, said her mother never talked about the war, never mentioned the soldiers, never told anyone what she did. She just did it because it was the right thing. The daughter asked the historian if her mother's sandwich mattered, if it made a difference. The historian said yes. It was the last moment Danny felt loved. The last moment he felt like a person instead of a casualty. The daughter nodded, but she could not stop thinking about how her mother had spent years making sandwiches for boys who were already dying. How kindness could not save anyone. It just made the dying a little less lonely. The old woman never found out that one of the boys she fed died on the way home. She just kept coming to the station, making sandwiches because she believed it was the right thing to do. But kindness did not stop the bleeding. It did not turn the train around. It did not bring anyone back. It only made the dying a little less lonely. And yet, as long as someone kept showing up with food at the platforms, baking lopsided cakes, holding broken families together, the war could never quite kill everything human inside them. These were only some of the small acts people used to fight a war they could not control. Their stories continue in part 2.